On the night of June 8, 2020, the home of Ramon Abbas, a flashy Instagram and Snapchat influencer and self-proclaimed billionaire Gucci master, widely known online as Ray Hushpuppi, was raided by the Dubai police SWAT team. Dazed and confused, the police arrested Hushpuppi and announced to the world that he was part of an FBI investigation that identified him as a key player in a transnational cybercrime network that laundered millions of dollars globally. The police seized about $40 million in cash stuffed in suitcases and other valuables he flaunted on social media. He was handed over to the FBI and extradited to the United States. In this video, we will discuss the meteoric rise and eventual fall of Ray Hushpuppi, the most prolific fraudster of our generation. Ramon Abbas was born on October 11, 1982 in Lagos, Nigeria. Not much is known about his childhood, but in interviews, Ramon talked about growing up in Oworonshoki in Lagos. He was the firstborn of 3 children. His father worked as a taxi driver and his mother worked at the market. Ramon lived a life of poverty. His early years were marked by a daily struggle to survive in an environment where opportunities were scarce. In a Snapchat video in 2016, he revealed that his sister had died of typhoid because his family couldn't afford to pay the medical bills. Like many youths in Nigeria facing the harsh realities of a struggling economy, Ramon was determined to leave his life of hardship behind and figured that cybercrime was his fastest way out. In the early 2000s, cyber cafes started opening across Lagos. Some of the local young men would congregate at these cyber cafes and start engaging in sophisticated forms of online fraud. They became locally known as Yahoo boys. The term refers to young Nigerians who engage in cybercrime, primarily email scams and Nigerian prince scams. These scams typically involve deceiving unsuspecting victims into transferring large sums of money by pretending to be a business associate or wealthy individuals in need of help. By the early 2000s, these scams had evolved, with the scammers becoming more sophisticated and targeting victims worldwide. Ramon had achieved some success as a Yahoo boy, but he had bigger dreams. At the time, Nigeria was a bit limited in terms of internet access, and with the type of crime he was involved in, he needed a place where it was easier and quicker to operate online. In 2014, he left Nigeria and moved to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, where he began to build a new identity. It was during this time that he rebranded himself as Ray Hushpuppi. As he settled in Malaysia, he revived his Instagram account and started posting pictures online. Many of his early photos were taken in a modest apartment, showing off his outfit. Before long, he was getting thousands of likes per post. His captions were a mix of motivational quotes and hashtags showing off the luxury brands that he wore in the photos. At this point, Hushpuppi started hanging out with Ismaila Mustafa, a fellow influencer famously known as Momfa. Momfa invited him to Dubai where he lived, and once Hushpuppi got there, he was exposed to a level of luxury that he had never witnessed before. He decided to pack his bags and move to Dubai. In 2015, he realized that he could make more money by scamming businesses instead of individuals, and his wealth grew exponentially. He went from renting luxury cars to owning them. The more money he made, the more he showed it off. On Snapchat, he called himself the billionaire Gucci master. His Instagram account was a masterclass in flaunting wealth. He regularly posted images of himself in luxury cars such as Rolls-Royces, Ferraris, and Lamborghinis. He often traveled in private jets to exotic vacations, and he was seen rubbing shoulders with famous Nigerian musicians and prominent local politicians. His wardrobe was full of high-end designer brands such as Louis Vuitton, Fendi, Prada, and his all-time favorite, Gucci. Hushpuppi's Instagram page quickly gained traction, attracting 2.8 million followers who were captivated by his extravagant displays of wealth. He became an influential figure on social media, particularly among young Nigerians who admired his apparent success. Hushpuppi seemed to be moving into the extravagant lifestyle of the super rich. His extravagant spending caught the attention of luxury brands, who in turn showered him and his friends with gifts such as elaborate birthday cakes, custom shoes, and engraved Rolls-Royce nameplates. During the Paris Fashion Week, Hushpuppi was gifted an all-expenses-paid stay at the Ritz Paris as a VIP guest of Louis Vuitton. However, his rise to fame was also marked by controversies, including public feuds with popular Nigerian celebrities like Davido, KC, and Fino, whom he accused of wearing fake designer clothes. He also had a very public fallout with his old friend Momfa, who accused him of living a fake life. As far back as 2019, there were questions about how much money Hushpuppi really had and how exactly he'd acquired it. Nigerian media outlets were speculating that he was a fraudster and a Yahoo boy, but he refuted these allegations, claiming that he was a successful entrepreneur involved in the real estate business. He blamed the rumors on haters who were jealous of a successful self-made man. By the time Hushpuppi's 37th birthday rolled around, he was living in a 4-bedroom penthouse apartment at the exclusive Palazzo Versace in Dubai. Around that time, Hushpuppi gave a guided tour of his home to Nigerian radio personality Daddy Freeze. As they wandered through his penthouse, Hushpuppi showed off his clothes, sneakers, and luxury cars. He boasted about his private pool, sauna, and 4 jacuzzis. He also mentioned that the apartment cost him hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Everyone scrolling through his public Instagram profile could see the extent of his wealth, including the FBI. Behind the scenes, Hushpuppi was deeply involved in BEC scams. Business email compromise is a type of cybercrime that involves tricking businesses into transferring large sums of money to fraudulent accounts. BEC scams involve a network of loosely connected players comprising of hackers who break into email accounts, money mules who are tricked into opening bank accounts through romance scams and other ruses, and loaders, also known as money launderers, who move large sums of money internationally. Hushpuppi conspired with Olalekan Jacob Ponle, a member of his entourage known as Mr. Woodbury on Instagram. He also conspired with a Canadian-American money launderer named Galeb Alumari, who went by Big Boss online. Alumari was a 35-year-old who grew up in Ontario. He'd been helping to cash out BEC scams for years, including swindling a Canadian university out of $10 million in 2017. On October 15, 2019, just 3 days after Hushpuppi's dinner with Daddy Freeze, he received a $922,000 wire transfer from a New York law firm into a Chase bank account he controlled. The money was intended for a real estate payment but was redirected by Hushpuppi or one of his associates through fraudulent means. More than a third of the money was then wired to an account at the Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, with the rest distributed to various accounts. On October 17th, Hushpuppi allegedly sent an image of the $396,000 payment to Alumari and asked him to confirm if he had received the transaction. Alumari was on a plane and he promised to send an image of the receipt once he landed, but the confirmation never came. Moments later, the FBI approached Alumari at the airport and placed him under arrest. Unbeknownst to Hushpuppi, the FBI's high-tech organized crime squad had been analyzing Alumari's devices since his arrest, uncovering clear links to his phones and accounts. The FBI also identified Jacob Ponle as the mastermind behind millions of dollars funneled through bank accounts and Bitcoin wallets used in BEC scams. For months, the FBI coordinated with UAE authorities to monitor Hushpuppi, Ponle, and their associates. On Alumari's phone, Hushpuppi was saved as Hush, and the two communicated on Snapchat. Hushpuppi was surprisingly careless in his communications, using his main Dubai phone number linked to his email, which was connected to his Instagram and Snapchat accounts. Despite having multiple phones, they were easily traceable to him. The FBI uncovered that Alumari had asked Hushpuppi to provide European bank accounts that could receive 5 million euros each without raising suspicion. Hushpuppi agreed and supplied a Romanian bank account. This was part of a larger scheme involving the Bank of Valletta in Malta. Hackers had compromised the bank through a phishing attack, gaining access to its payment systems. The US government later identified those hackers as agents of the North Korean government who had been involved in cybercrimes since 2014. On February 12, 2019, Alumari informed Hushpuppi that only one wire transfer of 500,000 euros had gone through to the Romanian account. However, the scheme quickly fell apart when the bank noticed the fraudulent activity and began reversing the transfers. The Bank of Valletta had lost 13 million euros, but alleged that most of it was recovered. Despite the setback, Alumari continued to work with Hushpuppi and approached him with a prospect of a $300 million scam involving an English Premier League team. But the plan quickly fell apart when UK banks refused to pay into the Mexican bank accounts that Hushpuppi had provided. As the FBI closed in on Hushpuppi, his lavish social media posts left a digital trail that linked him to the crimes. His Instagram account, with an email and phone number saved for security purposes, provided crucial information for investigators. They connected this data to financial transactions and communications with his co-conspirators. For instance, one of his Instagram posts displayed a birthday cake topped with a Fendi logo and a miniature image of him surrounded by tiny shopping bags. Investigators used that post to verify his name and date of birth that he had used on a previous US visa application. With enough evidence gathered, the FBI finally caught up with Hushpuppi, ending the reign of the self-proclaimed billionaire Gucci master. Between midnight and 1 a.m. on June 8, 2020, Hushpuppi was asleep in his apartment at the Palazzo Versace when the front door suddenly burst open. Armed men dressed in black stormed in and were initially mistaken for armed robbers. But it was actually the Dubai police SWAT team, fully equipped and looking for Hushpuppi. They ordered his friends to lie on the floor, took their phones, and demanded to know where Hushpuppi, his laptops, and money were. The agents found him upstairs, wearing a designer t-shirt and looking confused. Dubai police later announced that Hushpuppi had been captured in one of 6 simultaneous raids that led to the arrests of 12 suspects, including Olalekan Jacob Ponle, also known as Mr. Woodbury. Detectives seized about $40 million in cash, 13 luxury cars worth around $7 million, 21 laptops, 47 smartphones, 15 memory storage devices, 5 external hard drives, and 800,000 emails of potential victims. The arrest was part of an FBI investigation that identified Hushpuppi as a key player in a transnational cybercrime network that laundered stolen money globally. The Dubai police was so pleased with the raid that they quickly released a dramatic video combining Hushpuppi's Instagram photos with footage of the raid and stylized cybercrime graphics. The video quickly went viral online, marking a flashy end for the showy Instagram star. On July 2, 2020, Hushpuppi and Ponle were handed over to FBI agents and flown to Chicago. The 10 other men arrested in the operation vanished into the UAE justice system without charges or lawyers, reportedly being shuffled between prisons for about 5 months. In November, they were allegedly transferred to immigration custody without access to their belongings that had been confiscated during the raid. They were allegedly told to fund for their own plane tickets home. After a preliminary hearing in Chicago, Hushpuppi was transferred to Los Angeles, to face multiple charges, including conspiracy to commit wire fraud, money laundering, and aggravated identity theft. Meanwhile, Ponle remained in Chicago for his trial. The Dubai police also claimed that Hushpuppi or his associates committed fraud related to COVID-19 ventilators and personal protective equipment. Hushpuppi's lawyer argued that he earned his living legitimately through social media influencing and called his arrest a kidnapping, stating that Dubai handed him over to the US without any legal proceedings. At Hushpuppi's detention hearing, he requested bail, offering to stay with his girlfriend's uncle in Homewood, Illinois. His lawyer argued that he was not a flight risk, emphasizing that fleeing would damage his online credibility and status as a respected celebrity. However, prosecutors highlighted his significant financial resources, strong connections to foreign countries, and lack of ties to the United States. As a result, his bail was denied and he was held in federal detention in LA. On July 28, 2021, Hushpuppi pleaded guilty to money laundering. In a 3-page handwritten letter to U.S. District Judge Otis Wright, he described his 2 years in detention and admitted to participating in various cybercrimes, including BEC scams and money laundering. He admitted to conspiring to launder around $300 million over an 18-month period. He also confessed to working with a group of co-conspirators in an attempt to defraud a Qatari businessman by falsely offering to secure a loan for a school project in Qatar. The group impersonated bank officials and presented fake business contracts and documents to convince the businessman to pay them $1.1 million in processing fees. The scam fell apart when there was a financial disagreement between Hushpuppi and one of his co-conspirators identified as Vincent Chibuzo. In retaliation, Vincent warned the Qatari businessman about the scam. Enraged by this betrayal, Hushpuppi sought the help of Abba Kyari, a highly decorated deputy commissioner of police in Nigeria, asking him to arrest Vincent. Kyari allegedly complied and accepted bribes after facilitating Vincent's arrest. The FBI issued an arrest warrant for Abba Kyari and launched an investigation that led to the arrest of the other co-conspirators. The group included Kenyan businessman Abdul Rahman Juma and Nigerian nationals Vincent Chibuzo, Yusuf Anifowoshe, Rukayat Fashola, and Bolatito Agbabiaka. Hushpuppi's letter was the first direct communication from him since his arrest. In the letter, he apologized to his family members for bringing them shame, while commending the FBI for doing a thorough job while bringing him to justice. He said that he's had time to reflect on his mistakes, saying, quote, "I make no excuse for my actions, and I take full responsibility for what I've done. If I could turn back the hand of time, I would make an entirely different decision and become more careful in the choices and friends I make." In November 2022, Ramon Abbas was sentenced to 11 years in federal prison and ordered to pay $1.7 million in restitution to 2 fraud victims. Galeb Alumari also pleaded guilty to money laundering charges and was sentenced to 12 years in prison and ordered to pay more than $30 million in restitution to his victims. Olalekan Jacob Ponle was sentenced to 8 years and 4 months in federal prison. He was ordered to pay over $8 million in restitution to the companies that he defrauded. In addition, he was ordered to forfeit several luxury items purchased with the proceeds of fraud, including his luxury cars and high-end watches from Rolex and Patek Philippe. He also forfeited 151 Bitcoin to the government, which were also derived from proceeds of crime. Hushpuppi is currently imprisoned at the Federal Correctional Institute of Fort Dix in New Jersey and has a scheduled release date of 6 August 2029. Once released, he'll most likely be deported back to his home country of Nigeria. After his arrest, Hushpuppi gained an additional 500,000 followers on Instagram. Unfortunately, His once flamboyant social media account went quiet before Instagram eventually took it down. American rapper Curtis Jackson, also known as 50 Cent, announced his plan on Instagram in November 2022 to shoot a television series on the life and crimes of Hushpuppi. Recent studies demonstrate that many people on Twitter trivialize the fraudulent actions of online fraudsters. However, the rise and fall of Hushpuppi should serve as a cautionary tale on the allure of easy money and the dangers of cybercrime. While his life of luxury and fame may have captivated millions on social media, it was built on a foundation of deceit and exploitation. His story highlights the global nature of cybercrime and the far-reaching consequences it can have on victims around the world. Hushpuppi's legacy is not one of success, but of a life derailed by greed and the pursuit of wealth through illegal means. Among the victims of Hushpuppi's scams were individuals and businesses from around the world. His scams left a trail of financial ruin, with businesses being forced to shut down and many victims losing their life savings. Thank you so much for listening and watching until the end. As always, I'd like to know your thoughts on this case. Feel free to comment and also let me know if you'd like me to cover more fraud cases. I'd also like to thank all 5,210 of you for subscribing and interacting with my channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. My name is Faith Njoroge, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!